Out to Briggs Road Baptist Church for this meeting of the Greater Hilltop Area Commission and our Trash Summit. I'm Pastor Ray, and I'm the pastor here at Briggs Road, and I want to welcome you and just extend a warm welcome to you to our church building. We're very, very happy to partner for the flourishing of our community, and we're very happy that you're here today. Of Briggs Road Baptist Church, if you have any questions about Briggs Road, please come see me or see one of our wonderful members who are here. And I'm here to just welcome and to open us with prayer, but I do want to say this. At Briggs Road Baptist Church, we have a very primary and narrow mission. We exist to share the good news of Jesus Christ. We ask this in the name of Jesus Christ, our Savior. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Ray. Hello, everybody. My name is Zarqa Abed, and I'm the chair of the Public Safety Committee of Hilltop Area Commission. On behalf of our committee, on behalf of our entire commission, I thank each one of you for attending this event, for coming over. I especially want to thank the church, Pastor Ray, the whole team who has helped us putting this event here. And this is an honor for me, personal honor for me, to help organize something so important. We delayed the program a bit because we were waiting for our respected council members, and just in time, I'm so happy that we are here. I want to say a few things before I start, but in the first thing, I really want my whole commission, all of my, if they can stand, quickly introduce themselves with their names so people know who they don't know them yet. Please take a minute and do that because it's very important. Our chair, Rachel Wenning, is right here. Our secretary, James White, they're here. Go ahead. I don't know if it is working. And I see Victoria Klein is sitting there, and Jenny and Mr. Barnacle are outside helping, greeting the people out there. Thank you so very much, everybody, for being here, and I feel honored to be working with such a dynamic group. Earlier this year, we conducted a public survey, and trash came out as the most important issue to address in the Hilltop area. We invited Mayor Ginther and entire City Council to come to this summit today so we can discuss as solutions and what are the challenges, and to give our neighbors, our business owners and others to share their personal challenges with the council members. So I'm very, very grateful to have Council Member Rob Dorrance from Neighborhood Committee and Council Member Emmanuel Ramey, because he is the very important person, because the Public Services Department of Refuse is under his leadership, and he has done a lot of work since he became council member. So I'm grateful that he's here. I also understand that Council Member Elizabeth Brown is also going to attend this event. She should be on her way at this point. She heads the Finance Committee. So between the three of them, inshallah, we will be able to find some tangible outcomes, and we could be able to solidify some deadlines for our area so we can see some changes coming up in 5, 6, 10 months as we go forward. So with that, I do want to invite the administrator, Mr. Timothy Swagger, for Division of Refuse Collections presentation. In the first part of the summit, what we want to do is we want to understand. Refuse requested us to give them about 30 minutes. We asked them to keep it short, 10 minutes, because we wanted to give more time for networking and also for questions and answers and comments from the public. So Mr. Swagger is going to present what is exactly happening right now in Hilltop in his presentation, and we will go from there. Thank you.
Thanks, every division administrator for refuse under public service. We've got a couple team members here, Julie Gilliland and Julie Queen. They're back at the table here with Randy Borencharger. Julie Gilliland runs our refuse station out at Georgesville Road, which is the station that is in charge of collecting the Hilltop. Julie Queen is our solid waste investigator. She's in charge of doing the solid waste dumping, illegal dumping investigations, and she handles the Hilltop. So they're here. If you have further questions, they can get into the details. I'm over top the division. They know the ins and outs of your area way more than I do. I know the overall reaching. I'm in charge of this, but they're the ones that know everything about every address you look into, where we have dumping, where we don't, all of those types of things. So if you have specific addresses, and then Randy Borencharger is back there. He will be over there. If you have 311 questions or requests, he can enter those right into the system here today. He's logged in, and he's also able to do Vision Zero is a safety program that we're working on to eliminate hazardous accidents and stuff, and Randy can explain a little more about that. But those are our staff that are with us today. Just want to give a quick overview. That's a lot of words up there. I'm not going to read all of those. The Division of Refuse, we service about 350,000 residents each week. One of the things I say as the administrator is we're the face of the city because we're the only one that come to your house every week. We're the only division that visits every residential house in this city every single week. So I stress this to our staff all the time. We are the city. We have to do well. Our goal is 100% compliance, 100% success. We don't always reach that. We understand that, but those are our goals because we are the ones that we initiate contact with you every week. So it's very important to us. With that, there's 122,000 single-family homes, or 229,000 single-family homes. That's the majority of the Hilltop, our single-family. We do have some multifamily out there, but a lot of what we're doing in our solid waste investigators, we used to have one. We upped that to 3 a couple of years ago, and now we have 5. So those solid waste investigators have been increased up to 5 now, and they're divided throughout the city. Julie Queen's yours for your area. And what that's allowed us to do is allow them to focus a little more on each area of the city. And then container management, we maintain all of those trash cans out there. Your recycling can, your trash can, all of those. There's about $20 million worth of those out in the field, so it is a very expensive aspect of maintaining those. So just wanted to point that out. And then we also oversee Keep Columbus Beautiful. That is under the Division of Refuse as well. You can go to next. So real briefly, those are the numbers of what we picked up in 2019. I did not include 2020 because in 2020, last year, we picked up a lot more trash than we normally do. Because people were home more, the residential volume of waste greatly increased, and we struggled a little bit in 2020 as a result of that because commercial waste went down, residential waste went way up. We actually picked up a whole month's extra worth of trash on average, and we spent over $1.5 million more in tipping fees as a result of that. So when we really look at the division of what we do, we look at 2019 because it's a base model that we intend to get back to, hopefully. Normally we spend about $17 million in tipping fees. Each household on average produces 1,889 pounds of trash per year. That just kind of gives you what we're collecting out there. So when we talk about the 351,000 households weekly, that's 1.37 million collection stops every month. So we have 1.37 million opportunities to succeed or fail. That's the number we keep our drivers, keep letting them know. That's a lot of opportunities out there, good or bad. We're doing a lot of opportunities, so our interactions are a vast number. With that being said, we have 3 transfer stations that collect about 20,000 households per day. So we're visiting, each station is doing 20, so your Georgesville Road station is doing about 20,000 households every day. So that's what we're accomplishing in a week. And then out of those, we track our 311s. We get about 20 311 service requests per day per station. 311 service request is usually we missed you. You know, you've got a problem, something, you know, failure to collect. While we don't want to see any, 20 out of the 20,000, and specifically for your Georgesville Road station, that gives us a collection failure of 0.13%, which means 99.87% of the time we're collecting the trash as we're supposed to. Again, we recognize we want 100%. Nobody likes their trash can missed. They're missed for various reasons. Some of it's human error, some of it's blocked cars, various reasons. But that, I just want to kind of show you the numbers and what we're dealing with daily. That's just so you can see 311 request compares by stations. So our Alum Creek station, they had a complaint of 0.2, yours was 0.13, and the Lennon Center is 0.08. That just shows you how the Hilltop area compares to the other area. You're right in the middle. We miss a few more people down at Alum Creek, and we do a little better job out of the Lennon Center. That's just the reality. That, again, ebbs and flows. We just track it. And these are numbers we show to our station management and our drivers because we like to make it a competition internally to be the best, to try those numbers up. So that's where this comes from. What's the city doing to help? Look, we want a clean and safe neighborhood just like you do. I go up and down these alleys all the time. I'm involved with the illegal dumping crews regularly. We recognize that there's problems. We're not saying there isn't litter. We're not saying there isn't illegal dumping. We're not saying that all the alleys look clean. We absolutely know that we can do better, and we're trying to do that. So with that, litter abatement, we partnered with the YMCA. They've got over 400 youth cleaning up. It's actually 357 as of Friday, and that's what they're cleaning up right now. Councilmember Remy hired some folks through Cleaner Columbus to go do arterial roadways. The youth sports, we're hiring some youth through our Columbus Public High Schools to go do litter cleanup. And in Franklin County Courts, we've worked with them to get community service to go clean up. That's just to address litter, not illegal dumping, but that's how we're trying to address litter. We're trying to attack it in a bunch of different ways. So the illegal dumping, we had 58 charges filed in 2020. Had 51 convictions so far this year. We filed 30 charges. We got 9 convictions with 21 remaining. And then in 2020, we did the new Title 13, which Mayor Ginther and the council approved. So that has allowed us to go and do civil violations. We used to only be able to do criminal. Now we can do civil. The civil violations, we were able to get 26 civil violations totaling $27,000. You're good. $27,000 so far, and this year we're at $38,000 on 41 charges. The civil penalties are something that are easier to prove and easier to go after than a full criminal conviction. So that's given us some opportunity to hold people accountable without having to go through a full criminal court case. We're converting 300s to 90s. If you haven't seen that or know about this, this is where the city, to try to reduce illegal dumping, we're converting 300s to 90s because the 300s sit in the alleys all the time. They're always out there, so people have an opportunity to dump. Whereas a 90-gallon, the owner has to pull it in each night. You know, after collection, you're required to pull it back onto your property. So there's less opportunity. So throughout the city, this is how many we've converted. But yours is the 5,533 containers have been converted in the Hilltop area. 3,800 in the Lennon Center and 627 in the Alum Creek area. You had more 300s, but those are just the total numbers of how many we've converted to date. That's the overall map from when we started to now. You can see the one on the left is how many there were in the city. We still have about 10,000 out there. There's a lot of 300s still out there, but we've converted a lot as well. What we're going to do now is a Recycle Right program. We've got an ambassador program that we're going to be we're working with the Department of Neighborhoods in Swaco. The idea of this is we're going to be focused on the Hilltop. We're going to find a nonprofit organization to help us provide some labor for door-to-door information and education. We're going to train local residents to be knowledgeable, and we're hoping to provide some trash bags and stuff to local food pantries to accommodate some of our other problems. The idea on the trash bags, we did a pilot program on this a few years back. We have a lot of unbagged trash in the Hilltop area. Unbagged trash in containers. When our trucks come by, we tip that can, it blows out. So the thought process is if we can get some folks that, get trash bags in their hands and they bag the trash, it greatly reduces the amount of litter out there. We did a pilot program in Franklinton a few years ago, and it was highly successful. So we're trying to find a funding mechanism to make this work in the long run. So that's one of the other things we're working on. the labor, labor for the door-to-door, that's to get education. The biggest problem we have as a division of refuse, we go to houses. I don't know who lives there, I don't know how many people live there, and I don't know when they switch over. So if you have rental properties and a new renter comes in, we deliver the service to the house. So when renters switch, we don't know that a new renter may move in and not know what the new codes are. You know, they may not know that you have to schedule bulk. They may not know when recycling and yard waste and all those things are. So the ambassador program is going to be focused on having someone in those neighborhoods identify those and provide that information readily to try to keep them up to speed as to where we can be, and also focus on those for us as a division, because we struggle with that, especially in the rental properties. These three, litter abatement index, the illegal dumping case viewer, and the illegal dumping collection dashboard, we'll make these public. As of this morning, these are three public facing dashboards that you can now go to, and you can see where we're at. And if you don't mind, if you can click on the illegal dumping collection dashboard down there, the last one. You can, I think, control link that one. Yeah, that'll bring you up to, this is a public facing dashboard that anyone can go to at any time now. We beta tested this for a year, and we just finished it yesterday. So you can scan any zone in the city, and if you look at that red one, that's probably 619 or 616, I'm guessing. My eyesight's not the greatest, but yeah. So if you click on or hover over the number and click on that, all right, right there. That'll tell you how many days we've been in there, how many tires we've picked up, what illegal dumpings occurred, and the other website shows you what type of convictions and what illegal dumping cases we have. And a third one is a litter index. The Division of Refuse last year did a litter index for the first time, and we're in the process of completing the second time now. That litter index is us driving every street in the city and scoring it 1 through 4. To see where we're at. So those are all public facing, and anyone can go to those and see what those numbers look like. So you can tell when the city was last in your area, how much tonnage did we pick up, and it's a 90-day window. So yeah, so in the last 90 days for that, we've been in that zone 51 times. The last pickup was August 6th. They picked up 284 tires, 2.98 tons. Bulk was 132. So we track that, and we have been tracking that. The idea of the 90-day window is we want to see if we can impact change through everything else we're doing, the litter cleanups, the education, and we're hoping that after 90 days we can swing through and see where that goes. You can check out the other ones, and again, we'll make those public. They're public facing now, but we'll pass those out so everyone can go through those, and we can show them in the back if anyone would like to look at their specific. You can type in a street name, address, anything you want, and go right to it and see if there's any convictions or what your street is littered index looks like. You can close that out, please. How can you help us? You can click through these. These are real quick slides. Don't place bulk items around containers. These are photos from last week on the Hilltop. Sure. Yep, sounds good. And then there's other things that you can do, and we'll talk about those, and we'll finish this up at the second thing. We'll talk about how other things we're doing and what you can do to help us, because that's really what we're doing. Is from the city's standpoint, we're going to put extra resources, extra things, and then we're going to ask the residents. We can't do this on our own. You know, we're not everywhere at all times, so we're going to need the residents' help accomplishing this as well. Thank you.
This is such a good presentation. Thank you so much for all that work. I mean, this gives us so much hope. But then the question is, how much is not being picked up? Because I run a nonprofit organization. I always say that we fed 100 people, we fed 500 people, but then there are still 1,000 people who were not being fed. There were still people who were homeless. So our issue is that I always say about nonprofit organizations that we need to start reporting on what was not being done so we can really find the resources and reorganize the community to take care of those who were left behind. The similar concept we have to apply on this too. I am inviting Councilmember Ramey to come and give his remarks about the status of the trash in Hilltop, and then we will go in the second round, we will go into how we can address.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today and to meet many of you as we talk about this important issue. I would thank my colleague for joining today, Councilmember Rob Dorrance. And my staff, my aide, Jeff Carter, there in the back, and the great work that Tim's doing. When I took office in 2018, it became very clear right up front the issue of litter, trash, the illegal dumping that was occurring in the city. Don't necessarily need to do a survey to know that this is of paramount importance to you and your neighborhoods. And so as I was handed in the Environment Committee, which is where this falls under, refuse falls under the Environment Committee, we took a deep dive and looked at different opportunities and what we could do. But one thing was really clear, that there was not a lot of, it seems like, society has gone to a status of it's okay to throw your trash out the window as you're driving down the road. It's okay to litter, and there hasn't been ongoing campaigns that have been associated with stopping litter, advancing recycling, etc. So it's been a long time coming, but we've been working on our Cleaner Columbus initiative. And the Cleaner Columbus initiative, to give you an idea, is to provide community education, environmental advocacy, stewardship, employment opportunities, accountability, and equitable enforcement. And so we started originally partnering with the administration, doing those roving trash trucks in the communities. Started with 3, now we're up to 5. Glad to see the websites up so that people can kind of look to see what type of impact that they're making in the community. On the public, like education side of things, we held a contest then in 2019 to develop a mascot. And the winner was from Fort Hays, and we were able to give them a grant, to celebrate their environmental stewardship at these schools. There was a first, second, and third prize. But what we did was we created the mascot, and I think some of you that were up at the Hilltop the other day for National Night Out, Lisa's great work at National Night Out, you had the opportunity to meet Scarlett. And so that's going to become a public, public person, public, I don't know what to say, campaign that we're going to be continuing. If you're familiar with Commit to Be Fit on Channel 10, we would like to build a long-term partnership with one of our media partners to have a long-standing educational opportunity and campaign. So in November of 2020, we had the opportunity with CARES dollars to really get out and make an impact in the community. And so we dedicated $550,000 that year to go out in different communities. We partnered with many community partners like Franklin Board of Trade, Community Development for All People, the Hilltop Shalom Zone up here, New Salem Baptist Church, Afrocentric, St. Stephen's, Us Together, and Columbus Next Gen. And we had people going out earning at least $15 an hour, the underemployed and unemployed, to clean up our streets. And it was really remarkable results, because we were able to accomplish collecting 175,000 pounds of trash. That was 53% of every volunteer group that was collected in 2019. So in just 3 weeks, we made a significant impact. And what that did was it led to this year partnering again with the mayor and the administration to dedicating not $550,000 but $2.5 million this year to doing the same thing. And so we've had cohorts. We had our first cohort out. The Earth Service Corps program with the YMCA is employing up to 400 youth through the Y to do the same type of work. We're starting up the group group opportunities for Columbus Public Schools, or Columbus City Schools, excuse me, where if you're a band booster, a PTA group, or any type of organized group, you can go out with kids and earn $500 towards that program just by helping to clean up your neighborhood. super excited about that, and more to come as we move into the fall. We'll have another cohort coming out, so we're really trying to make an impact. But it's all about working together. And I see Judge Mingo back there, working with her courts, working with our solid waste inspectors. We have to be diligent about working to put people, making sure that they realize there are real penalties involved with illegal dumping here in the city of Columbus. And so we're continuing to make an impact. It's never going to be enough and never going to be quick enough, but know that we are very committed to doing this work and making sure that we're changing the dynamic moving forward. So I thank you, and I'll turn it back to Zerba.
Okay, so I have asked Mr. Fagan to help me with my presentation here. Can everybody hear me? Okay, awesome. So this presentation that I'm presenting is very quick. It's basically what I have heard from the people who have experience. This is based on my conversation. Some of it came from, I have met in length with Mr. Swigert. I have talked to Ms. Lisa Box, who is a champion of this particular issue in this neighborhood. I've talked to Dan Downing for an hour, and he's somebody who's been doing it for a year. I interviewed him yesterday also on Facebook. A lot of people that I've talked, and also what we have seen in the emails that we have received, and also the public survey. So these are very quick points that we have heard, and after this quick presentation, we will open it for the public remarks. I already have the speakers who have signed up to speak today, so I'll go with the list, and every person who will speak will have 2 minutes to each, so we can cover all of them. We have 15 people who have signed up here, and then we will go into how to address portion, where we will look into what suggestions have come out from the Hilltop area residents and activists, and we will request our esteemed council members to help us get to those goals very soon. So here we go. So number one thing, and everybody knows this, Hilltop trash is not a new issue. And Ms. Boggs had given me so many videos and things. We are having technical problems in, really showing them. But if you don't have to do anything. And I think Hilltop owe a lot to Ms. Lisa Boggs, because just the documentation. Here's a historian of this particular issue right here in our neighborhood who has documented year after year after year. 2011, you have it. 2013, you have same videos, same photos. 2017, you have that. And now it's same thing. So Hilltop trash is not a new issue. And we understand when Council Member Ramey took this position, he actually just inherited a whole huge complicated problem with no infrastructure, or not enough infrastructure and not enough budget. That is a challenge. So we appreciate it. Something that I said to Mr. Swigert in my meeting with him, and I've been saying to everybody, this meeting is not to accuse anybody. This meeting is not to attack anybody. This meeting is not because we are saying that city is not doing anything. What we are saying is that we need to do more, and we are here to team up with whoever can help us. And that's why I'm standing on this. My reasoning of standing on this stage is not because this is some kind of portal that we are going to accuse, attack, and do nothing. This is because all of us, everybody in this room has a role to play. And if we don't play our own role, we can't do it. And being a Muslim, I'm a Muslim, and the Quran says that no community can have better situation. The situation of any community cannot be changed unless they change it themselves. And that's what I believe, and I believe that all of us can do this. So Hilltop this trash is not a new issue. We can go to the next slide. Most impacted neighborhoods, according to our public survey and interviews, are these three. South Central Hilltop, Highland West, and then Wedgwood Village Apartments neighborhood. We are getting a lot of emails and complaints about those neighborhoods as well. Most pertinent problems that we have seen are trash cans are too full on most days. So yesterday I was on the street, NBC4 interviewed me. it was picked up, it looked better, but still there was trash, even though it was picked up in the morning. Piled up trash on the ground is a huge issue, and illegal dumping is definitely a huge, huge issue. Everywhere you see mattresses and couches and broken furniture and whatnot, and that is a problem. Next. How we cannot address it. As I said, it's very, very quick. Volunteers cannot keep Hilltop clean. Ms. Boggs, or Dan Downing, or Zarqa Abed, or Victoria Klein, or any of us, any of commissioners, Jeffrey Phillips. I don't want to say names and then people say I didn't say everybody's name. We have champions in this room. We have very passionate people, and we have been tired of doing this because we want to improve this neighborhood. Volunteers cannot do it. We can only do so much, and we have done more than that. We need proper funding. We need infrastructure. And at this point, I want to welcome Councilmember Elizabeth Brown here, because I told you guys, Finance Committee is here now. So we are talking about funding, and this is not gonna be done. Volunteers can only do so much. So we need to have more employees. And I asked Mr. Swagger, please tell me what you need so we can really get this done. So this is what we are talking about. I'm gonna stop it here. And Mr. Fagan, you can go back to the first slide, and I'm going to open the public remarks. With the rest of what I want to share is the second part at how we can address it. So with that, I'm going to start calling people's name, and if everybody can come, step up, and we can have a smooth public remarks session right now. If I can only move all my paper and find the name slip right here. Okay. So number one person, and please apologize if I say your names wrong. English is my second language. I'm from Pakistan. I have hard time in pronouncing some names sometimes. This is Johnny Critis, right? Okay, please. And I will have my timer on here. So if you hear the timer, that means your time is up.
Hello, I'm Johnny. I'm the current Vista for Homes on the Hill CDC, and I work in the Hilltop as community garden organizer on Belvedere Avenue. During my time working in public service, I've received one main complaint, the trash problem. This issue is not new to the residents of the Hilltop. Okay. This issue is not new to the members of Hilltop. After talking to numerous members of the community from very old to very young, me and my partner have witnessed firsthand the generational weight felt of this issue. We talked to 2 elder members of the community during our time flyering, and they felt as if no matter how much work was done, it wouldn't ever be enough to counteract the fact that Hilltop's seen as the city's dumping ground. These 2 women have lost hope in the city and sought out their community to fix the issue, employing unhoused members of the community to pick up the trash plaguing their streets and alleyways. We spoke with young homeowners on this issue, to be told that their calls to 311 have never been investigated, and the trash sitting in the alley behind their home was now so old it became green sludge cooking in trash bags. Sorry. We also talked to the children of the community who had become so utterly desensitized to playing in the street next to rotting garbage. My question for the commission is, why is it that elderly women are doing a better job than you at managing the trash in their community? Why are city resources ignoring the pleas of the community if the numbers reflect 98% effectiveness and 311 calls? And what is the commission going to do to keep the children of Hilltop safe from this generational issue?
Thank you so much. Right in time. Very good. Mr. Simon Dallas.
Hi, I'm Simon Dallas. I live at 58 North Westmore Avenue. I want to thank the Hilltop Area Commission for hosting this meeting and the council people for coming out. I do want to say over the last 5 months, we've seen an exorbitant amount of trash buildup across the Hilltop in my neighborhood in Great Western. It's continued to grow. I've been on 311 calls. My neighbors have been on 311 calls every week for months now. I am excited about the education program. I would encourage the council members to fully fund said program to really lift up the community. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for hosting this, Circa. Appreciate your time.
Very good. Thank you so much. Our own area commissioner, Jeffrey Phillips.
I am Jeffrey Phillips. I'm not only a area commissioner, but also president of the Highland West Civic Association, the southern half of which was red, and it's the area I live in. Anyway, I have had a front row seat to this issue since I moved here in 2004 from the short north. In 2004, we had issues, but nothing compared to what the situation has exploded into since 2013. Since then, many of our owner residents lost hope in the neighborhood of ever coming back up, especially those who moved in here as a result of the earlier planning for our neighborhood, and they have relocated to other neighborhoods, either in the city or out to the suburbs. We not only have to deal with massive amounts of trash that have been generated since we have converted more and more to a rental community, but in fact, many of our owners that remain on my block still have their individual trash cans, as I do, close to our house. We use those during the week so our whole lives aren't scattered all over the alley. We use trash bags, but they rip the trash bags up. So we may as well be just dumping loose trash in there. But we also, so we take our trash out, but because the cans are so full, we have no place to put our trash bags. So we've remedied the situation. I now have 4 trash cans behind my house that I use until I can get them all out into the trash bins on trash day, which is Wednesday. But not only do we have illegal dumping, but a lot of the illegal dumping is from the residents running illegal businesses out of their homes. Carpet repair, house clearing for landlords when they do evictions. That's all ends up in our dumpsters in our alley. Not only do we have that, but because of all the foodstuffs we have in these dumpsters from ripped plastic bags, we have raccoons the size of which I have not seen since I used to spend my summers in the Rockies when I was in college. They are huge. The possums are huge. The groundhogs are huge. I have been on my patio at night just relaxing only to it's not the cat, it's a raccoon. So please, this is dangerous. We should not have this in the older neighborhoods of our city. We really need to convert to the 90-gallon, which we have close to our homes. The alleys have to be repaired, whether we have 90-gallon trash pickup or not, because they aren't falling apart anyway as a result of our regular residential. So please, we need your help.
Thank you very much, Mr. Phillips. Okay, so now this timer is not going off. I'm sorry. Okay. Next is Kevin Fowler, please. And again, I apologize if I don't say your name right. Do we have Mr. Kevin here? Okay. Liz Kenneth Regula. No, I said Kevin.
Okay, so I thought.
Okay. Liz Kenneth Regula. Did I say your name right? Okay.
My name is Elise Regula. My late husband and I moved to the Hilltop about 2 years ago, and I can understand the increase in amount of trash pickup because of the past year and a half of COVID. Get that. It's understandable. But the amount of increased litter, trash, dumping, and the decrease in times that the trash is actually picked up, like actual bins dumped, has been extremely frustrating. I have been on the phone with 311 regularly. When we moved down here, we did not have a recycling bin at our house, so I had to call and get one, trying to get a second one because we produce enough recycling and I collect it from my neighbors, who most of them also do not have recycling bins. Takes up 2 bins. Can't get a second one. And then the trash bins themselves, those 300 gallon containers, it is regularly that ours is not dumped. We had one destroyed earlier this summer, and it just finally got replaced yesterday. I have heard plenty of people outside of the neighborhood say that, well, if people would stop dumping, then it wouldn't be a problem. What are you supposed to do when the bins are full and they're not being emptied? And you've got a full bin that sits there for a couple of weeks full. We've mentioned before about the amount of time that trash will stick around because it's not getting picked up. It is a safety concern. Besides the raccoons and the possums and the groundhogs, there's rats. And I'm looking at this issue while I'm also seeing signs around the neighborhood about how we're going to put in rain gardens, we're going to put in permeable pavement. I hear about a sump pump program, and I've not seen any of these things done. I see money spent on signs instead of actually putting in the things that the signs are advertising. And
Thank you
that's-
very much, sir.
You know, I would love to be an owner in the Hilltop instead of a renter, but with housing prices going up the way they are, while the neighborhood is not going up to meet those prices, I can't justify it. Thanks.
Thank you very much, sir. Really appreciate it. I'm so sorry. I can't read there's no last name actually. Karen? Miss Karen is here? Yes. Is that you? Okay.
Basically, I have the same things to say as Jeff said. Jeffrey, the illegal dumping is a problem, and it's from home remodelers, people that own rental property, and they clean them out, they dump them in the alley instead of taking them to the landfill. They don't want to pay to take it. That's basically because when I moved in over on my house in 2012, and it was a mess over there. The alleys were terrible. And I started cleaning them up. My neighbors started helping me clean them up. We've been doing this now for a while. The neighbors down the way, we got our alley in pretty good shape. We got 2 houses. We're still working on those guys. They need to step up. But it's a lot of the illegal people, I think, dumping. Like you come out, they'll pick up the trash, and that's great. They're doing good with that. But you see everything, like if you have bulk and you call for it, they come and get it and they'll clean the whole alley. The next day, you've got all this debris back there. They've got more construction like drywall, lumber, more mattresses, furniture. That's not coming from our houses.
Yes.
And the other thing about the rats, when I first moved in, they were terrible. And I got Columbus Pest Control down in Franklinton, and they put in, you know, it does cost you to do that, but it's well worth it. It eliminated a lot. It was really great because I actually had some come in my house, and that was when I said, I can't do this. So that eliminated that. I moved out of my house for a year, and then I moved back in. And in that year that I was gone, the rat problem came back, and I immediately got them back out there. The first couple weeks, we got about 8 rats. And that's a lot. So I pay monthly for rat control, and it's really worth it. But like I say, you've got to pick up the food scraps and that kind of stuff. But mostly, like I say, it's the, am I out of time? It's the illegal dumpers, and they do a good job in our alley picking up the trash.
Thank you very much.
The neighbors have all helped. You know, we've all kind of come on board with it.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. But please tell a story to the council members. Our next person is Mr. Jim Lashbrook.
I studied to be a teacher of history and elected not to pursue that. So it's interesting in terms of how a confluence of influences and experiences in life come to particularly somebody at my age. I'm 78 now. Yesterday, I spent 40 minutes at our local Trail of Tears. Anybody remember that Bill Moose is buried in Franklin County, the last of the Wyandotte Indians in Ohio? I'm meeting with the Upper Arlington Director of Historical Society on Tuesday to become a member because I have a passion to be an interpreter of the legacy that we have. And I know some of the history of the Hilltop. A big part of the history of the Hilltop is sitting here today. And I have an appeal for us to be better interpreters to the younger generation of the legacy. My topic was to be about character and discipline, but there's not enough time to cover all of that. But I see Jack was here, photographer, Dan Downing, Lisa, Jeff. I sat on the Hilltop Commission for a while, but I decided not to seek an election. I was appointed reluctantly. Remember, Dan? I sat on the University Area Commission. And I remember when Steve Wright came photographer of the Dispatch, when I lived for 34 years in that neighborhood. By the way, that was good training for coming to the Hilltop. Weeds, Hudson and High, like this. My daughter was 8 years old, and I said, I can't afford to move. I'm going to do something about it. I have to leave because of family. I'm glad to see you're here. And I am going to be at the Hilltop Commission meetings again. And I want to see a map of every single self-identified neighborhood in this huge greater Hilltop, which is too big to manage. We need to see the map of every single neighborhood. That's where the character and discipline comes.
Thank you very much, sir. Really appreciate it. So next we have our famous Jim Boggs. Thank you so much, sir, for all your service and your family's service. We are so appreciative.
Hello, and thank everybody for being here today. Me and my wife's been on the Hilltop for 30, 40 years now, and trash is just humane. It's sickening. We're just tired of it. The residents are not going to pick the trash up. It's just not going to happen. My suggestion is maybe we can get since our city trash trucks are in every house, every neighborhood, maybe we can start some program for them to keep their area clean, maybe offer some kind of bonus to them, incentive to do their area to keep their clean, to notify somebody, because since they're there all the time, they would be the best ones. So that's really all I got to say. Thank you, everybody.
That was very short and sweet. Thank you. Mr. Dan Downing.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank Julie, our refuge supervisor out at Georgesville Road, who works with me, and formerly Jim Spencer, who still works with us, and the good things that Refuge does with Friends of the Hilltop. They respond to me very quickly, and we do a lot of dirty work on the Hilltop, and the people who don't know who we are the people who do the dirty work. One of the things I wanted to bring up, there's so many things to talk about, but I wanted to point this towards our council people. The programs that you're putting in place, they're well-intentioned, but they don't work. And the reason they don't work is because the management is incomplete and the oversight is absolutely horrible. We have been picking up the bags that your funding of the YMCA is leaving all over our community, and I know Lisa has called Julie. I've been picking them up myself, and you can't leave bags on the corner. You can pick up a community and do a good job. These are impact points, and Trent's doing a good job of identifying these sites, but you can't leave the bags on the corner because the animals, which were mentioned earlier, get into them. The other thing is the educational process. The ambassador thing works. We have the best ambassador. He just spoke. It was Jim Lashbrook. 4 years ago, the Friends of the Hilltop had a grant, and we went door to door, just exactly what you're doing. And I should have brought some of the flyers that we had printed. And Jim Lashbrook knocked on door after door after door. And I think you need to talk to him after the meeting, because I think he'll tell you what the results of that is. Now, did it make a difference? Maybe. Maybe it did for a little while. We gave out buckets and grabbers. But I just want to say that if we're going to do a better job, our administration has to listen to the people with the boots on the ground. We know. Before you get into these programs, why don't you contact people who do it every day? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next we have Miss Mary
Moved back to the Hilltop. I lived my entire life here. I've been here since 1955, and it's getting worse every time. I've called the 311 about people illegally dumping. I had the guy's face, I had his picture on my cell phone, I had his license plate. They said, you can't prove it, blah, blah, blah. They investigated. When they found out, they said, oh, well, gee, his sister lives there. He can dump his stuff there. No, he can't bring his trash into our yards, our property, our trash cans. And the fact that they have these trash cans that are all messed up, the lids don't work on them half the time, and the little kids that come out there that can't empty the trash, they throw it on the ground. Bugs get in it, dogs, cats, birds, rats, I mean, all kinds of stuff. And it's atrocious because they can't lift the lid half the time, and then half the time when the people do lift the lid, they leave it open. Rain gets in it. Once again, that fills them dumpsters up. They get heavy. On a weekly basis, since I've come back here 5 weeks, our recycle is supposed to be every Thursday. We have been missed twice, and I got called, so I called 311 on it. Sure, they come around Friday the next time, but then, like last week, yeah, they come up on Thursday, they empty the trash cans, they come back again Friday. Excuse me, if you come back on Monday, that would be really great, because by over the weekend, the trash cans are all filled up again, and people can't have no room in it. And our trash can, I've got plenty of pictures on my phone of the trash and stuff that's in there. And we had a guy, once again, owning a house, and he was doing the inside, threw the laster and the plate in there. Oh, well, how do you know that? I went out and I bought cameras. And now that I'm back, I'm getting my cameras hooked up again. So this time when I do call and I complain, and I got vocals on it too, so I can hear what's going on because of the loud noises up and down the street and how people don't start partying until 10 o'clock at nighttime and raising cane and cooking out on their front porch. We don't need that kind of stuff in the Hilltop. We're tired of the trash. We're tired of the lowlife somebody here. And as long as the landlords get their money, they don't care what goes on out here. Like yesterday, the landlord, the neighbor, told them that they had to clean their stuff out back. What'd they do? They threw it all in a dumpster again. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. And I just want to very quickly add to that point is that we have been, as a nonprofit organization, are dealing with the same issue right now. That I even provided the camera footage, I had phone number, everything, but nobody followed up. So that's a point that we want to really bring back, that how do we enforce it? Can we penalize? Because we can cooperate as a community to give you the evidences, but then if you don't have enough people to prosecute or to investigate, then it doesn't go anywhere. And it's a constant problem for us, and it's costing us a lot of money also. Next up is Gary. Mr. Gary?
That was my wife who just gave a little bit of background. I'm going to try and read a letter that was in response to a call made to 311 about our missing recyclable can. I got a letter saying I should buy a new one, and I wrote this in response. Point 1, the city did nothing to ease the identification of the blue recycled trash cans when they were distributed, like painting the address to which they were issued, thus easing the ability of lowlifes of the Hilltop to abscond with them. Point 2, at the time of our moving to California, we had a blue trash can assigned to our address. That can then became the responsibility of the people who leased our property, as they were legal residents of the property, but it was gone when we got back. Point 3, since we're the only people on our block who use the blue recycle cans to recycle, and I believe the only people between Broad Street and Sullivan Avenue, I have personally witnessed blue trash cans sitting in the alley filled with non-recyclable trash being ignored by the city, trash collectors, and attracting vermin of all sorts. This is related to the major problem associated with the 300-gallon dumpsters, which I was very glad to hear you're doing away with. Which may make all kinds of economic sense to some city planner's computer, but do not work in the real world of the non-gentrified Hilltop area. It may make budgetary sense to utilize 300-gallon dumpsters for the Hilltop, as one driver and truck can handle a lot more trash pickup at a greater rate per hour than 90-gallon container pickup rate. But the use of 300-gallon dumpsters encourages the disposable economy, non-recycling, as the irresponsible do not have to worry about a 90-gallon trash can becoming too full. The second problem associated with 300-gallon dumpsters is the sheer size. When a child is sent to take out the trash, they cannot reach the top of the dumpster, let alone open the lid if it still has a lid, as the lids are constantly being removed to ease tossing trash into the dumpster. The lid removal causes any number of problems, allowing rain to accumulate, making the dumpster too heavy to be emptied by the trash collector, attracting vermin of all sorts, mice, rats, raccoons, possums, and flies and maggots. And it goes on from there, but you get the gist of what I'm trying to say.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gary. Appreciate it. Our second last speaker is Vinnie Worth. Vinnie, where is
Short people. So litter, this whole topic is a distraction from the failure of City Hall to invest in the neighborhoods. Litter is just a symptom of the economic inequality and a failure to, for instance, maintain infrastructure and enforce city code in the Hilltop. While downtown and the short north have risen up like the Emerald City, the infrastructure of neighborhoods is deteriorated. We have cracked and missing sidewalks for a neighborhood where people need the sidewalks because a lot of disabled people and elderly and people can't afford cars. And I worked the census this year, and let me tell you, the city code is not enforced on rental properties. There's dangerously deteriorated steps and windows duct taped together, doors that don't even latch. So why have a city code if slumlords are exempt? And how would you expect people to pick up litter, worry about the snack bags in their alley when their sidewalks in their building is so deteriorated and the city turns a blind eye? And maybe they wouldn't be eating all that snack food if they had grocery stores in the neighborhoods. It's a distraction to focus on litter. It is blaming the victims for decades of neglect. And yes, the alleys are full of businesses using them. So I've seen large plastic bags. People are obviously cleaning out office buildings, and people are earning their living mowing lawns, and these are not low-life scum. These are people trying to feed their families, and they feel that they can't afford the city dump. Plus, if they take their truck there, they'll get nails in it. Maybe the city needs to find a solution and put dumpsters that are affordable. But the main problem is the evictions. The landlords, it's whole households being evicted, and unless we address the evictions, which cause generational trauma and generational poverty, so these conditions will just continue on, and that is the real topic here, not litter.
Thank you very much. Last but not least is, of course, Mr. Malik Moore.
Good afternoon. I want to thank the Greater Hilltop Area Commission, City Council, Zerka, for all you are doing, for all the caring residents, for expressing your voices. I'm new to Hilltop. I've lived here about 8 months. I'm over in Highland West. I live on Whitethorn. And there's some issues on my block, but I've grown already in these 8 months to feel an emotional connection to my neighbors. And so one of the things I don't want to see is citations and penalties for our neighbors. Some people here said that they believe that's what works, and we have a diverse range of opinions. What I do see happening is the thing I heard Mr. Boggs talk about. There's 2 of us on our block that hit the alley, and we clean up trash regularly the best we can, but it becomes hopeless real quick. We clean up the trash, and somehow, some way, it shows back up. The other thing is when we get our cans out there, the way that the berms are right now, the cans end up not getting picked up or they tip over. And so I don't even have a stable place to put the cans many times when we put them out. Honestly, I'm an optimist, and I would like to believe that some of these things that get the youth involved and get neighbors involved helps to really bring morale instead of penalties. And I want to see more of that, and I want to be a part of the solution. When I drive around Hilltop, I see lots of nonprofit organizations. I live right near St. Aloysius. And I wish there was a way to make some of this effort local, that locally we might be able to assemble resources, because like we heard already, our folks who do this work, Lisa Boggs, all the other names we heard, they're tired. And if there was a way for some of us who might only have 3 hours a week to begin to collectively assemble and solve this problem, Zerka, you said it, we're responsible for our communities. And again, as a newbie, I want to know what I can do most efficiently to help. I do love what I heard about the ambassador program. I do love what I heard about the Recycle Right program. And I just want to make myself available and be a servant leader and work with all of you to collectively solve our problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moore. Really appreciate it. So now we are basically entering in the second part, and this is going to be shorter but very to the point. I promised people that I'll give them 30 minutes for networking. We had 10 minutes in the beginning. We will end this formal session by 1:40. That's my promise, and we will keep to that. I also promised Mr. Swigert that he will have a little bit time in this portion about how community can help. After him, I will provide what we thought we have collected at the I things that we want to be done in the Hilltop area. Mr. Swigert, please.
Thanks, Ken. I do appreciate the comments. A lot of those we hear. There are some differing opinions on what the best way to attack this is. I think it's a little bit of a combination of some enforcement, because we do see a lot of the landlord illegal dumping going on. That's an area that we're going to focus on. So that's something we really see a lot of. I will say from our experience, most of the illegal dumping in the Hilltop is not coming from outside of the Hilltop. People are not driving trash across the city to dump it in the Hilltop. It's coming from within that. It's usually within a 3 to 5 block radius of where we find it. That's where it generated from. So that's what we're going to be attacking on those, but just want to address that real quick. How can you help us? I was mentioning, like, here's a picture of a block 300. Obviously, our driver can't. We're fully automated. It's one person in the truck comes down, moves that. So this is something that has to get called in. The illegal dumping has to come clear it out. Another crew has to handle that. That's a problem. Anytime you can, work with us to not block 300s. Don't place yard waste in containers. We see this regularly. Yard waste is banned from the landfill. You're not legally allowed to put yard waste into the landfill. Doesn't go in our green containers as well. Bag your trash and schedule bulk. That's another thing. There's loose trash all over there. That doesn't belong there. No one's scheduled bulk at that location. We run into this. You see it every day. We see it. As frustrated as you are, our work crews get just as frustrated too. They go down an alley and clean it. A week or two later, they come back down and they look at it and go, it looks like we were never here. They get frustrated just like you do. They take pride in their work. They want your neighborhood to be clean and safe. They're trying. They definitely want that. We need help as well. How can you help us? Contact 311 to report illegal dumping. I know, a lot of people, we've got Randy over there. The only tracking mechanism we have is through 311. We encourage people to call 311. If you don't mind, description of the person, vehicle, if they're doing it, license plate, photos or videos if you have it, and then participate in neighborhood cleanups, promote clean neighborhoods, reduce, reuse, recycle it, and then of course pick it up. If you see trash on the ground, pick it up. It's as simple as that sounds. That's what's going to have to occur to get alleys clean. Help identify illegal dumping. Right there is a photo we're currently out. We gave it to the press this week. That's somebody illegally dumping right there. We're looking to identify that person. We're working with the media. This is where we're going to be advertising this more, our solid waste investigators. We often get video. We know we've got illegal dumping. We got that photo. We've got someone turn that in. We just don't know who the person is. So we need help identifying that person. So a lot of our cases do get stalled because we just can't identify the person. We found the truck. It was a rental. We know they've dumped. We know we can get a case out of this. We need help from the neighborhood to identify who that person is or where they live, and then we can follow back up on those as well. Utilize the city services already provided. One thing I do stress is we have recycling and yard waste, and we have solid waste pickup. You get recycling in the Hilltop has a lower than average participation rate and a higher than average contamination rate. That's where that education comes in. That's where we're going to start pushing to get our neighborhood ambassadors. We're going to start pushing to get those people educated on it and to use it right. Because to make recycling work, it's got to be used right. That's the only way it becomes financially stable and makes the system work. Yard waste, don't place it in your refuse container, obviously. That also gets collected. So The city provides weekly waste collection and every other week recycling and every other week yard waste collection. So in a month, 4 weeks, you do get 8 collections if we utilize those. The biggest thing I'd like to stress is we have to increase yard waste and recycling on the Hilltop. We have to. That's the only way to get that overflow out of those trash cans is if we get it into the yard waste and the recycling bins where it belongs. The 300-gallon conversion pilot program, we are sort of at a standstill with this now. We have converted everything that we could easily convert. We are at a point now where I will tell you this, it costs us more to do a 300-gallon container operationally. I've run the numbers. We can pick up way more 90s and we can do it cheaper, and a 300-gallon container costs as much as 6 90s. So it's a 3-to-1 ratio. If you look at it operationally and financially, 90s are the way to go. They help us with the illegal dumping, and it also allows us to hold that homeowner more responsible, because at 300, multiple houses use it, and it's hard to hold somebody responsible for that container. So as the administrator, I would like to get rid of every 300-gallon container out there, because it makes it a cleaner, more efficient, and more accountable system. But the problems we have now is to convert any more, it's going to take the neighborhoods coming together, working with us to get there. We need to place the containers either at the end of blocks. We'd have to push them to the side streets, down the alley to the side streets, or come up with some creative solutions. Because if we push them out front, there's too many parked cars on most of these streets. It's just not reasonable for us to be able to get in there. So we're willing to, but it's going to have to come through you, through the Hilltop Area Commission, back to us to come up with creative solutions on these, and we're willing to work on them. When I talk about the corners of the blocks, the no stopping zones at each block, maybe the residents push theirs out front to those areas and we pick up. Things like that is what we're looking at on there. I think that's it. Thank you.
From how we can address. Thank you so much, Mr. Swigert. Really appreciate it. And here we really need your attention. There are several questions that were raised when I talked to Mr. Swigert, and I went back to the community activists and neighbors. One question was especially about this 300 gallons and 96 gallons thing that I'll come later. But this is what I have heard from the leadership, from the neighbors, how we can address it. People love Mr. Swigert a lot, so there's nothing against him personally. But what I have heard from the community activist leaders who have been working around this issue over the decade or more, that there are other people might be in the department who might be able to address it more, and that Mr. Swigert could be used in some other facility, or for Hilltop, if we can have Mr. Diego DeBonis or some other people who are his deputy who might be able to handle it more. I have nothing to do with this because I don't work with any of them, but this is one of the suggestions that I've heard and I have listed here. Strategic planning supported by research. Everybody in our commission meeting, also in our community meetings, we have heard that we really want city to spend some money. City to spend some money, go to different cities, see what is going on, how other cities of similar size, similar issues addressed it more cost effectively and strategically, and help us. Our children are suffering. These rats and all these animals, and on top the drug dealers, and then the human trafficking and the needles out there, this area is suffocating. Our children do not have a place to play. They don't have a place to be in a healthy environment out there, and it's just not fair. So we really need you to invest money on research and studying and seeing what needs to be done. Education. Mr. Swigert brought a very, very good point. He mentioned it, and I have heard it from everybody. Mr. Downing also, said the same thing. We need to have more money dedicated toward the education of recycling, education of legal. If there is more printing needs, if needs to be more websites, whatever needs to be done. As a Hilltop Area Commission, other activists, we are willing to take whatever you will give us and organize our community. But if there is material that needs to be produced, if there are events that need to be organized, we need money, please do it, because we are willing to educate our community. What I heard from Mr. Swigert is that there's 74% of recycling in Hilltop is not being used, and he mentioned in his presentation. Now, how do we change it? All of us do recycle, but we're talking about Hilltop neighborhood, the whole neighborhood. There has to be more funding allocated to the education part. Legal, same thing. What is the consequences? Who do we report? How do we report? All of that needs education. Next slide, please. Next part was law enforcement, and this is what the Council Member Ramey, we really want to say, and it would need more funding, but environmental police. So I heard in the presentation, Mr. Swagger said 58 cases of illegal dumping were, I think, investigated and prosecuted. I can give you 12 cases per week from my own property. And I have pictures and videos, and I mean it. I spent, and this is why this trash summit is happening, I spent $300 in removing, and we are food pantry and soup kitchen, seriously. $300 in removing those couches and mattresses that were dumped on our property, $300. 2 hours later, and I have video of this folk who decided to pick some mattress from an alley, and he brought it and dumped it in our dumpster. We are back on the same place, and how do we? And right now, there are 2 couches on our property sitting there for 2 weeks. I don't have money to dump them. So this enforcement is very important. We have security cameras, we can help with that. But environmental police, we need more maybe this is Franklin County issue, but there has to be more consequences and solid infrastructure on legal side for the consequences and law enforcement. And then somebody also suggested, somebody who knows it well, that at least 6 people to investigate and prosecute. So staffing on that side. Next. Trash pickups. So this 396 gallons, because what I have been told, and I was not aware of it, in 2017 we did that swipe, and Mr. Swagger, you were the leader at that time also, that we swept 90 gallons from to 300 gallons, and now we are going back to that. And my understanding is that it may cost us, like one-time cost is 4 to 5 million one-time cost. It sounds good, and I'm excited about it, but I just want to make sure, and our community wants to make sure, that if we are again swiping 1 to 2, is it really going to work? Or maybe we need to study more. Or we need to solve this problem. More public trash can along the corridors of Broad Street and Sullivan are needed. Need to increase the frequency. Again, and I know that he just mentioned this, Mr. Swagger mentioned that how much more costly it is to do twice pickups or things. What I was told is about 80 million one-time cost if we do twice pickups for the existing trash issues, and it will be $22 million annual cost of operation. Repairing of the existing trash can is an issue. If we have funding, we can support that. It would help our residents. We just heard about how the recycling bins are gone, and then we have to buy it, and then people won't buy it, and that's an issue. Weekly litter cleanup along some of these corridors is very, very much needed. And that's about the pickup, Councilmember Ramey, that you have already, the kids are doing it. And we appreciate it. We think it's a good activity for the kids, but we really don't see, and I run a program, same. We have adopted Sullivan Avenue, and we pick up trash from Sullivan Avenue with our youth. I do see it as a good activity for them, but it doesn't solve the problem of the neighborhood. It has to be more. So we have to we can't say that this is good enough, and that's why we picked up, and we have to move forward. Free replacement of stolen recycling bins, as I mentioned, and then reduce trash. Again, going back to the same thing, more recycling, more education, and we need to get this done. Next part was the illegal dumping. Now, nearby, this is something that came from that episode of twice dumped same day. We need close by drop-off location. When I was talking to Mr. Downing, I found out that actually there was a proposal like that a few years ago that was considered at some point. Franklinton, there was a space that was noted, but then there were some liability issues that were discussed. So whatever is it, if it is the Friends of the Friends of the Hilltop, they were at the proposal at that time. We have thought about, at some point I thought maybe my Project USA, my organization, can take a lead. If a city has some legal liabilities issues, that they can do it, and they can support us by a grant, by any funding with any other community organization. We need a drop-off location. I need a place where people dump, because now I'm told that if I push that couch on the alley, then I'm committing the crime. So I'm a nonprofit, I don't have money for that, and then if I push it back on the alley, then I'm committing the crime and I'm not supposed to do it, so I have to remove it. So we need a drop-off location. We need a place where we can take all the hazardous material close by instead of dumping it here or there or wherever. So this is a very important point. No ID, this place where there are many residents, so if you go to landfill, you need an ID. You have to have an ID to take something to landfill. So many neighbors who do not have any ID, we know that. That's a separate discussion why they don't have an ID. But if they don't have an ID, they are not going to landfill. Forget about it. You need to invest in the neighborhood. Reward businesses, residents, as I said, $500 is the penalty charges if somebody is prosecuted and you found it. If my organization is helping you find that person, can I get some reward for that? Because that's an incentive for any neighbor. And I heard what Mr. Moore said. I totally hear it that you don't want it, but then really, Mr. Moore, ask me, it's very, very difficult. Every single day, people came in our community garden, stolen things over the fence and ran away, and we can't do anything. We need help. The last portion is the required landlords to give tenants 3 days. This is a policy issue. This is a legal issue. We know that City of Columbus doesn't have direct hold, but this is down the lane. Because what's happening in our neighborhood, the landlords are evicting and they have only 2 hours. Within 2 hours, they dump everything outside. So when they dump it to the nearby block, 2 blocks, properties. And those things are then out there. If they are giving 3 days notice or some other arrangements, this may also reduce it. So these are the things that I saw. Is there any other? Next slide. With this, I am going to ask Mr. Let me see where I'm. Yes. So with all of this, what we want to do at this point is we want each council member to come. You have heard what we are asking for. Most of it is definitely boils down to the money. We know it. And then a strategic planning. And we understand that there is extra funding available in the community right now, which came from the federal government. We understand that Council Member Ramey and all 3 of you are really allocating and doing very, very important job for us. But we understand that we have heard from Mr. Ginther also that there is a $10 million infrastructure investment into Hilltop area, which we appreciate. There are things going on, but we really need to find money to have more staff, to have more equipments, to give Mr. Swagger whatever he needs to get this done, and we are here to cooperate and work with you guys. So with that, I am going to ask Council President Pro Tem Elizabeth Brown, the Chair of Finance Committee, to come on stage and give her thoughts.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Zerka. Can you hear me when I'm doing this? Okay, all right, thank you. If I stop, she wakes. So thank you, Zerka, for assembling us. Thank you to all of you for coming out to listen to your neighbors, to listen to us, and to educate us. I think that these feedback sessions are really important because there are strategies that the city can come up with at City Hall, but there's the lived experiences of the neighbors and the residents who have to tell us what they think works. I really want to, I forget your name, ma'am, but I think final speaker or second to last speaker who spoke about the symptoms of poverty and under-resource and under-investment obviously playing into all of this. I think that that is a really good point. We understand that we must do more to address trash, litter, illegal dumping, but if we're not also addressing people's economic positions, people's sense of stability in their neighborhood, because the more stable families are in their neighborhood, the more they take ownership of the health and vibrancy of those neighborhoods, right? If we're not also investing in those things, then we're never going to sustainably fix the problem. So thank you for lifting that up, ma'am. And I think that many of us in this room can agree about that one. As Zerka has mentioned, I chair the Finance Committee, so we have 2 big budgets that come through the City of Columbus every year. There are operating budget. So think operating would be Tim's refuse truck drivers. And then there's the capital budget. Capital budget would be physical investments like Tim's trash cans. Sorry, Tim, all of this is yours, right? So that's the difference between the operating and the capital budgets. Something that the city of Columbus does that I think no other city our size does is provide recycling and trash free of charge throughout our city. And I think that's a very good thing for our residents. I know that it makes Tim's position in sorting through these challenges difficult. And so that means that we as policymakers have to be as creative as possible to think about new ways that we can afford to fix the problem. Zerka mentioned federal funds and had a great list of ideas, which thank you, and I want to dig into those and figure out cost and feasibility based on that. Just real quickly on the federal funds, we got money from the American Rescue Plan, and our charge is to use those dollars in ways that address fallout from the pandemic. There are some broad definitions, but there's also some flexibility in how we define that here locally. And I think there's a real case to make that the appearance of neighborhoods, that the presence of trash and litter and illegal dumping, that all of that did go up in the pandemic, and we've got to think about how to, right-size that after, sort of coming out of the pandemic, but here we are with a new mask advisory in the city of Columbus. So I try not to use the phrase post-pandemic anymore. I am now rambling, but the long story short is that we want to figure out ways to apply American Rescue Plan dollars on some of these solutions to help attack this problem alongside of you, and to not offer you the solution solely, but really come up with those together. So thank you for this venue to do that. And then my last thing I'll say is please get vaccinated, and please tell your friends to get vaccinated. We just issued a mask advisory in the city of Columbus again, and I'm telling you this as a mom of 3 kids who aren't able to get vaccinated. I hope we all can collectively come together, take responsibility for the health of our community, not just how it looks in our alleys, but how we all survive together, and make it to next year together. So please get vaccinated, and your friends too.
Thank you so much. On that point of not charging anything for trash, and I know I'm not gonna be the popular person right after I say it. My family, a lot of them live in Toronto area, and in Toronto, they charge for trash and they have bulk of recycling for free, and that has changed the environmental quality and tons of things for that place. So I think that really you have to have a system. Either way, we are suffering. So if we take, and this is to the community, I'll say, if we can pay a bit, but then automatically a lot of our neighbors will start recycling more, it will really help us, it will save us money, and it will improve our environment. So I know everybody gets very political and get very harsh about these kind of things, that why more taxes, but really, you can't have the both way. You have to give to get something better, and I think we should advocate for that, and we should help the city to approve this, because this will change tons of situations for us big time. So thank you so much again. Next up, we have our dear council member Rob Dorrance, who is actually an environmental activist in the past, right? Are you still? Let's see that right here.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for organizing this. Really appreciate it. Want to just stop and acknowledge, I think President Pro Tem Brown really hit the nail on the head when we talk about family stability. These are symptoms within neighborhoods that don't have as much stability as we'd like to have. But I want to acknowledge people's frustration in this room. You are right to be frustrated. I know I don't look like it, but most mornings I get up and run 5 miles before my day starts, and on my walk back to the house afterwards, I try and pick up 2, 3, 4 cans that are littered through my neighborhood every day. And every day this happens. Well, I should say the days that I actually get my butt out of bed and actually go for a run. But it is incredibly frustrating when you just walk through your neighborhood, and again, whether it's Tim's folks out doing this job every single day, or whether it's a community member who's picking up the trash, when the work that you just did, it's like it never happened. And I know we had more than a couple folks here today that I could feel their frustration, and I want to acknowledge that. And the city needs to do better at everything, but we need to do better acknowledging that frustration and working with folks to find solutions. So it's a couple things I want to mention as far as like this discussion here today, and then I want to talk about one big thing that I think is linked to this issue. Is one, this has been really, really helpful for me to hear the suggestions from the community. I think gentleman here is talking about actually talking with folks that are boots on the ground. I think most of council, we want to make sure that we're actually in these rooms. So even when folks are frustrated with us, like I want to be there and hear that frustration, because good ideas come out of that. There is big systemic things that we can do, and that always makes guys like Tim real nervous when we talk about big systemic changes to things. But small suggestions, like offering a reward for folks that provide information for leading to a conviction for illegal dumping. That is something that clearly we can do. When we talk about, my recycling bin has been stolen before. I'm fortunate enough that I was able to, pay the $40 to have a new one that was brought to my house, but I know that's not everyone's situation. And again, as we're talking about getting more things in the recycling stream, we need to be thoughtful about community members that need those resources that maybe don't have them right now. So there is more than a couple things we've talked about here today that I think we can take back to City Hall and really work on implementing here sooner than later. And again, as President Pro Tem Brown mentioned, this last year and a half plus in our community, people have bought more things online. There's more boxes. There's more of literally everything in people's neighborhoods. And I know I see that and feel that every single day, and I know you do too. And I think I'm not sure that's going to change. I think people have sort of adapted their lifestyles a certain way, and we shouldn't expect a year from now, hopefully, when we're whatever the new normal is, for that to be different. So I think we need to be very thoughtful about how we're implementing strategies right now to address some of those things. The last thing I want to talk about, and again, I want to acknowledge frustration because I think folks here have talked about it. But I think if you're in this room today, you are a 311 super user, probably. I'm looking back at Lisa and other folks in this room. And as Tim mentioned, that is the system that we currently have in order to really be aware of where there's a bulk pickup that needs to be scheduled that hasn't actually happened. When we talk about acknowledging frustration, I get frustrated with that system as someone who uses it on a weekly basis because it's not the most user-friendly system in the world. I know that during the pandemic, when we have to shift our call center to remote, that created a lot of delays. We have a new 311 system that's going to be rolled out this fall. I'm looking back at Melissa Green from the Department of Neighborhoods, who's here. This is going to be a much more user-friendly system so that when folks are actually submitting these requests, and when we talk about education, it's going to be about educating community members how to use the system, and hopefully in a way that is user-friendly in which they're going to want to use it more. And one of the things that Councilmember Ream and I were just talking about is that there is a rental registration at the county. So we know for the most part a lot of where rentals are within the community. Those folks may not be using their 311 system or knowing some of these resources that exist in this city. One of the things, we should do some education, just sending out information to those folks that we know are renters, that we know maybe don't have a long-term knowledge of what's going on or expectation of what's going on in their neighborhood. So those are a couple things that I know I'm taking away from this discussion today, and know that I get the frustration, I get because I feel it too. But it's our jobs to take that frustration, your frustration, back to City Hall and make some changes. And I think, again, just sitting here today with a couple of my colleagues, I know we're sort of in each other's ear about how to do that. And some of those things cost a lot of money, some of them don't. And we need to do what we can to make that happen. So with that, I'd love to turn the mic back over to Zirka. Thank you for organizing this. Thank you as, again, the chair of the Neighborhoods Committee that helps work with the area commissions. It's my pleasure to work with those 21 bodies all across the city who give up their time to do this important work. So I appreciate all the commissioners and the organizing that happened today, and thank you.
So before I ask Councilmember Ramey to come on the stage, I want to present a short-term plan that Mr. Swagger and I discussed, and to the community, and our question to all of you and the rest of the council member is that if you will support it or not, and then Councilmember Ramey can actually close on those thoughts, and then he can tell us whatever else he also wants to tell us. But something that he mentioned, Mr. Swagger mentioned about the swiping in some areas, some streets of this 96 gallons and 300 gallons. And for that, he needs $4 to $5 million one time. And then he's very confident that with the infrastructure, little infrastructure, with that 4 to 5 million, he can have some more additional trucks or whatever employees he needs and change it. And then it will be smoother going forward for us. On that lines, I mentioned there was Highland West, South Central neighborhood, and some of the Wedgwood apartments surrounding area is the huge problem right now. It's the most problem than any other neighborhoods in our Hilltop. So I asked him for those Y kids who are cleaning right now, if we can submit the names of the streets and the neighborhoods, and we can make sure that those kids are the focus on those neighborhoods until I think they are doing until October or something. So if they can focus, that would be a short-term solution for us for right now. In the meantime, if the finance committee or whatever other bodies have to approve and he has that $4 to $5 million, he is able to get taken care of all the equipments and things, and then he is confident that he can do it somewhere around October, late September and October, he might be able to kick it off. We don't want to kick off right before the huge winter, because then it will fail and then people will say that it doesn't work. Because winter, pulling your waste gallons is not easy if you didn't do it for some time. So this is what we want to see. In the meantime, when the city will figure out, we will do the research or something. One thing I want to say is, and somebody said to me the landfill is being filled, it's going to be filled in 20 years, so that's why it's going to be all these different changes are. My thing is that, yes, we understand it. The whole world is suffering for that. The city is suffering for it. But we, at no cost, want our Hilltop children to suffer it for one more day. So we want short-term solutions now, and then in the meantime, yes, go for the long-term. So our main goal for this is with Councilmember Amy and Councilmember Elizabeth Brown and Rob Dorrance and others is that please give us, would you vote it? Would you support it? Would you help us get really something tangible in next 3 months and then 1 year and going forward? So I'm looking for that.
Well, thank you once again. It's great to hear everybody's comments. These forums are very valuable to us, and like my colleague said, they make me angry. It makes me angry to hear the things that you're facing within this community. No one should have to face that throughout any part of the city. So I know, I remember, I always like to tell the story how we met, Lisa, because it was 2010, I believe, on Ogden. I had a house that was foreclosed on. I think it was 605 South Ogden, if I remember correctly. And I just happened to meet you. I was president of the Northland Community Council at the time, but I just happened to meet her on her street cleaning things up. And so I know the passion and the work and dedication that you do, and of course many of you do within the Hilltop community, and so that's obviously extremely important. There are some tangible things that we've gotten out of this conversation today that I believe that can be easily implemented. Certain programs, I love the bonus, kind of like the bonus for reporting, like the opportunity. There was a Project Greenlight in Detroit was for crime initiatives, but there could be a similar program done for trash. And so we'll work hard on and diligently to try to implement that. Finding out about bags being left over on the corners, after the cleanup, obviously that's not our intention to create a problem in the pursuit of trying to solve a problem. So we'll make sure that we're working on kind of changing how that's handled in the future, because we certainly want to be add something of value, not take anything away. And we'll continue to work for solutions. I mean, this is obviously a problem that has not gotten any better, but certainly we are working for ongoing sustainable solutions that are something that we can handle. Getting back to President Pro Tem's comments to the lady in the back about the we have much more important things to think about, to provide stable housing for people, to try to remedy the litter is a symptom of overarching other problems, but certainly we are dedicated to solving those things, but we're also going to continue to lift up, opportunities to improve this problem, because again, it goes back to the broken window theory and a lot of the other things that happen. And so you have our commitment. We're here to listen. We're here to help find solutions. I want to talk about the 311 frustrations because, again, as Councilmember Dorans points out, in October that's going to be revamped, and hopefully that will be, some of these things will be solved. But I'd never like to hear that people are constantly calling and not getting solutions. So please reach out to my office if you have, if it's not sustained or not taken care of with 311. I have some bios back there that have my contact information, but you should not have, we pride ourselves in getting these things fixed. And so I need to know about it if they're not being taken care of. Sometimes, personnel at the 311 level say things that they shouldn't say, or they haven't been trained exactly the way that they should be, in order to respond. We have to be customer service centric. And if we're not doing that, then we're failing. And so we need to know about it as policymakers so that we can help to correct the problem. And likewise, if, I'm not going to throw Tim under the bus because I think he's a wonderful administrator and is always trying to do more with less. But, if we're failing in some way in the refuse department, I need to know about it so that I can push on them to make sure that it's corrected and that it, because we should not be seeing the same problem over and over and over again. So we're here. We're here to listen. We're here to solve problems, and we're here to work directly with you to come up with the best things possible for the community. And we encourage you to continue to keep these lines of communication open. And so Zirka.
So I want to ask exactly that, what we just asked, would you be able to consider asking the Y teams to consider the neighborhoods that we identify from the neighborhood? We know they are anyway picking up trash, but there are areas that are really, really very much help is needed. And the second is that if we can work, and consequently, as I said, and we can have more meetings, but my understanding is that if that support is given sooner than before winter, we might be able to swipe the containers and do what needs to be done, and that would help. And the last thing would be, of course, the money for education, the funding for education, for recycling and everything else. And that also is something I think is already on refuse list. And I'm saying it in a sense that I know I have heard it before, that you can't do twice pickups because then there are issues of other areas would say that you're not providing them the service. So we understand that part. But at the same time, we know that there are in our neighborhoods, not the whole Hilltop, but there are definitely areas where our children are suffering more. So is it something that you can help us? Can we have a follow-up date from you and some kind of line that we can go home today, that we will say that, okay, these people are working, and in next 2 months, we can meet here in 2 months, or we can meet here in 3 months, and we can say that, okay, this, and this is being done, and this is what we have done the research about.
So yeah, our research is never ending. I mean, we're always looking for ideas, across the country. So the research part, my office is, I'm always, I'm not going to recreate the wheel. I don't stand up here thinking I'm going to create something that's not already been done. Some of the best solutions are from other parts of the country and even the world. Send us specific streets. We'll make sure that they're added to the list for not only for our youth program that we have going on. Okay. We can make those things a priority. You talked about hiring a strategic person. Well, Tim hasn't mentioned it, but working on hiring somebody for Keep Columbus Beautiful that is very strategic and trying to solve some of these problems. And so that should be happening relatively soon. That'll be somebody that will be a kind of an advanced policy person that will look at these things in more of a broad perspective. We are intending to have a citywide cleanup on October 2nd, which will be kind of a culmination of our program work this year, the $2.5 million that we spent we'll have spent by that point, but we'll have some details coming out soon. But that's a good kind of lead up to, the work that you're asking us to do on specific streets. That is not a problem. We'll be able to get that done. And of course, the budgetary side of things, we will be working with the administration closely to help support, and try to find resources in order to push this agenda forward. And so that's never a problem.
So a specific ask was $4 to $5 million allocation to change the containers and bins in the areas that are identified by refuse, if we can expedite that. And that would help before winter starts, because it will be a problem otherwise. It will delay the whole thing to until March or April.
So on that point, again, as Tim has mentioned, we have to work with the Hilltop Area Commission to make sure that the problem with the ones that are remaining are the access to getting those out onto a street that can be picked up by the arms. And when you have wall-to-wall parking, it doesn't work so well. So we've either got to devise a program where the owners are willing, and we could petition block by block potentially. The owners are willing to take them down to the alleyways in order to get them picked up at the end of the alleyways. We're more than willing to do that. Again, he'd like to get rid of every single one of them, but the challenges with parking are real.
Yeah.
And so we need to somehow work together to find solutions on that.
Yeah, and my understanding is that he has figured out how to manage that. So yes, I'm not saying to discuss it in length now. I know if we have to close this, but maybe we can have follow-up from your side that we can share with the community in a month, and then definitely we would like to see you all back, if possible, and others also in our community in 2 to 3 months, so we can see what we achieved from today in the next 3-4 months, and we go forward from there, because that's the only way we can do it. In our neighborhood, if you do the cleanup in 2 hours, I just told you, it's gonna go away. Unfortunate situation. It's really bad. We can spend millions of dollars in one time picking. It's not gonna go anywhere. We have to build the infrastructures, and we are so happy that you understand that part.
Well, and like I said, this whole reward side of things, working with the courts to try to get, a program where if you do provide us with pictures and video,
yes,
we are going to take that forward to prosecute. So, we'll work on devising that program, work with Zach back there and some others, within the city attorney's office to really provide a program that will help to get these people off doing what they're doing.
Thank you so very much.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate all of you council members and all of the audience. Thank you so much. I am going to conclude the formal portion here, and you are free to network with each other. Thank you.